Hi everybody, and welcome back to Sew Along with Jan and part 2 of the December Kimberbell Mini Quilt. So in this video we're going to make 3 more of the little stamp blocks. So we're going to do the gift block, the ornament block, and the bell block. The first one is going to be the gift block, so I'll get these two out of the way here. And we're going to be doing, oh, this is pink. So the pink, I put my pink thread in my machine to do the quilting. So I've got that in now. I've got no-show mesh in the hoop, and it's a 5x7 hoop because the design will be a total of 4.5 by 4.5. So the 5x7 works really great. This one called to have the wrong side, or have the Shape Flex or SF101 on the back of the background fabric and the stamp fabric, and the stamp fabric is the green. And then the other piece of fabric, the little red piece that goes on the present, did not have Shape Flex on it. So that I've already got that on my pieces here, so we'll get rid of that. And let's see, so I've got my pink thread in the machine. Let me get these out of the way. And we need to go get our design. So this one's going to be done with the stars. They called for stars 7, but I didn't have that, so I'm using stars 3. So I'm going to go get stars 3 here. So we're going to go get that first. We'll get our quilting first. Let's see, Kimberbell quilting and stars 3. So I'll have to go down towards the bottom here. Sorry, if I go too fast, then it goes like running past everything. Stars 1, 2, here it is, stars 3. Again, this is block by block. And then we're going to get the 4x4 design. This is the one that the stars look sort of like little snowflakes. Okay, so we'll do that one, set that one. So it's a total of 4.5 by 4.5 up here. And let's see, then we're going to get the gift design. So I'm going to hit add, go back to my stick, and let's see here, mini quilts for December. And this is the gift, and it's this one right here. So gift, the little present. Hit set. Okay, and this one says for them to be centered on each other, so it automatically centered them into my quilting design. And I think we're ready to go. So the first, of course, 5 steps are always the quilting. So we're going to hit the embroidery here, and the first step in the embroidery, let me get a hold of my book here, get it out of the way. Come back over here so you can see. My arm is having a problem. It's about time for a new camera arm. Starting to get very squeaky, isn't it? All right, so we're going to put this in. I've got my chunk of Hobbs 80/20 batting ready, and I've got my no-show mesh in the hoop, and I have my bobbin, my pre-wound bobbin in the bobbin case. So, and I've got my pink on the top. So the first step is going to be our placement line for the batting here. These are such cute little blocks, and they're really going pretty quickly. I like it when they go quick. I do remember the January one, when we did that one, those blocks, those little snowmen, oh my gosh, they had a lot of stitches in them, so they took quite a while, but these are going very quickly. Okay, a couple of them have a little bit more in them. So, okay, so we're going to go ahead and cover up our placement line there with the chunk of batting. Step number 2 is going to tack down the batting here, and then we will trim it. Now, for those of you who haven't done the block by block quilting before, all of the quilting designs come with, and they are separate, so they're not included with this design package. The mini quilts, you have to buy them separate, and I have a lot. So, and if you have some, just use what you have. You don't need to buy all of them. I do have a lot of them. And all the instructions for the quilting are in with the quilting design. So if you need to know, how to, if you want to cut your batting out instead of like I am with the chunk of batting, and it also explains in detail, also with pictures, how to do the block by block quilting So if you need to know how to do that, just print out those instructions that come with the quilting designs. All right, so we're going to trim around this. And I'll put link in the description below, you know, where you can go to get the designs and everything. It's on their website. And we have an affiliate link. Shield Sewing Center has an affiliate link. So if you click that link, that helps our store to get some credit for the sale. So that's kind of cool. They do that little affiliate thing. So then the third step of the quilting is always going to be the placement line for the background. So I need to find my pink fabric here. Looks like it has all, whoops. Okay, so did you see what happened? That my thread didn't catch again. And that does often happen on, especially when you're just sewing on stabilizer. So we'll fix that. So this is how you fix it. I showed you this in the last video too, and sometimes it happens, so don't be concerned. I think it's mostly, especially if you're using pre-wound with this tight bobbin case. The bobbin case is very tight, and sometimes it just doesn't want to pick it up. So I'm just going to go around. I'm going to take the bobbin out, put it back in, and then I'm not going to cut it off. I'm just going to leave this little tail right here. And we'll just back up. Put this back in. We'll go over here. We'll go over here, and we're going to hit the negative positive needle, and we're just going to back up to the beginning of that particular step. Okay, there we go. So we're just going to do that. Some of the machines, you may have a negative spool, positive spool, and that's the same thing as my arrows on my Luminaire. So it depends on the machine you have. All right, so we're going to go. There we go. See, it caught that time. So that really helps a lot. I notice it more when I'm just sewing on stabilizer. Okay, so there is our placement line for our fabric. This is our background fabric that has, oops, I got a bunch of tails here. We'll just go ahead and trim these off so they won't get stuck in anything. And we'll center this over that batting in our placement line. And then this is step number 4 is going to tack this down to the stabilizer. Got little tails all over the place here. I must have had, I used a lot of scraps this time for this one because none of the pieces were very large. So I used a lot of scraps. So I have lots of little ends of threads and stuff. So, okay. So then, of course, the next step is going to be the quilting. So step number 5 is going to be the quilting, and it's going to do the little star pattern. Okay, so there's our pretty little star, or it looks more like a snowflake, but it's a star. They call it star background. That looks really nice on that Hobbs batting. It makes it nice, and you can really see the detail of the quilting designs. Okay, so now we're going to start the actual first step of the design. It's on page 10 of the instructions, and it's going to be the background placement line. So I did put my green, my darker green, in my needle, and because that's the color of my background, and that background piece does have the shape flex or the SF101 on the back. I'm going to go ahead and get that one ready to put on here. Look at all these strings. It was ravelly. Okay. Now this one does say after step 2 to go ahead and trim the fabric. So we are going to trim the fabric this time. So we'll get this on here over the placement line. And then the next step is going to be the tack down line. Get my scissors ready. So we are going to trim, and then we're going to move on to, looks like the present. Yeah, the present. So it's going to be this little piece of red that we're going to put on. That one does not have the shape flex on the back. Okay. So I'm going to trim. This is going to be really cute. The top of the present is that limey green, and the bow is pink. So I think this will be really cute. So we're going to trim this close around. Yeah, maybe. I always have trouble getting close when I'm using the shaped like sometimes it's a little stiffer. It makes the fabric a little stiffer. There we go. Okay. Then we're going to be doing the present placement line. So that's step number 3. So I am going to change to my red because I'm going to be using my red. So let's get the red thread on here. Oops. I need to clean my machine. I've noticed that it's doing a couple little, it'll do some funny little stitches every now and then. It needs to be cleaned again, I betcha. Okay, so we're going to do our placement line. And then step number 4 does say to put the red thread in, because I noticed that this particular outline on the little present part is actually a motif stitch. So that's why I normally put matching thread in my needle when I do applique, because I've gotten caught a few times that I didn't realize it was going to be a motif stitch and then it showed through. So I usually just change the thread to match my fabric. So we're going to lay that down, and then we're going to do, especially step number 4 needs to be in the red because it might show through, because it's going to do a decorative outline next in the red. So sometimes those motif stitches are a little bit more loose, or more, they're not as close together as a satin stitch. Yep. So then we're going to trim. That sometimes that if you've used like white there, for instance, it might show through. So I just have kind of gotten, so I always change my thread to the matching color of my fabric. Or you could do the matching color of your satin stitch if it isn't the same as your fabric, just for safety. So I do it just because I don't have to forget. I don't forget as often then to change. Okay, so then the next step, which is step number 5 on page 10, is going to be the decorative outline for the little present here, and it is going to be a motif stitch. And then we'll move on to the lid and the ribbon. Okay, so step number 6 is the lid, and I put in that the lighter color to the lime green to make the lid. It's going to be just a nice little fill stitch, and then we'll move on to the bow. Okay, so now we're ready for the pink bow. So I've got my pink in my needle, and the last step in this design will be the outline for the stamp. So that's going to be done in white. Okay, so then I'm ready for the final little postage stamps outside edge here, and I've got the white in, and that is going to be the color for this one. So I'll be back when this is finished, and we'll move on to the second block already. These are really fun. I'm really enjoying these a lot. Okay, so there's our little gift block. Isn't that cute with the little bow, and then it's got a decorative stitch on the box? So isn't that cute? So there's the 4th block. So the 5th block is going to be the ornament block. So let me get I'll go get my no-show mesh stabilizer in my hoop here, and we'll start the ornament block, and it's going to have the background's going to be that lighter green, so that little bit of a kind of a lime colored green. So that will be the color I'm going to put in my needle then, because I'm going to use that for the quilting. And then the ornament is green, and then the background for the ornament is going to be this white. So I'll be right back once I get my stabilizer. Okay, so we're ready for the ornament block, and this one is going to have, I chose, it was the Christmas 13, but I don't have that one, so we're going to use Christmas 2 again. So let's go over here and get our designs here. So back to my stick, and we're going to go get our quilting, and it's Christmas 2 that I've been using. So most of these, they've just used 2 different quilting designs, so that's kind of nice that you don't have to have a whole lot of them. Christmas 2. Here it is. And then we're going to again get the 4x4, block by block, 4x4. This is the one with the candy canes. And then we're going to set that one, and then again it's going to end up being 4.5 by 4.5, but it's finished 4 by 4. And then these need to come in centered, so then we're going to add and go back and get our little ornament block. There's that one. December, my goodness, let's see here. Where did it go? Here's the ornament right here. So we're going to get that one. And it comes in automatically centered, and we're going to hit embroidery. So we're going to start out with our quilting again, and since it's going to have the that lime green backing, I'm going to quilt with that. So I've got that in my needle here, and I've got just my regular bobbin thread in the bobbin. The background piece, the lime green piece, has the shape flex on the back. The white has the shape flex on the back. That's going to be the little postage stamp part. And then this is the ornament. So this one did too. So all three of those had the shape flex, or the SF101 on it. So step number 1, as usual, is going to be our placement line for our batting. Get my batting here. Didn't have a very big piece, but I think there'll be enough here. So it's going to do the placement line. We're going to lay this down over that placement line. And step number 2 is always the tack down. I've got cat hair in this one. So it's going to go around it twice. Get this all, there we go. Oops, I have to catch there. I've really had good luck with the little chunks of batting instead of cutting them. It takes a lot less time to cut than. I do a lot of these kind of things, so the cutting can be very tedious. And I've never really liked cutting very much. Some people really like to cut and make kits, and I just have never really liked doing that. I remember the first quilt that I actually really made. It had, oh my gosh, it had so many pieces. I was like, what did I get myself into? It was tons and tons and tons of cutting. It took me days to cut it out. And it was like a block of the month that I did with Ben Franklin when we were in Sycamore Mall, the store, and I did that Ben Franklin. It was called the Sweet Tooth quilt. It was so cool. It was a really pretty quilt, but oh my gosh, had so many pieces. Okay, so I've got that all trimmed, and then we're going to stitch out step number 3, which will be our placement line for our backing fabric here. Got a bunch of strings on it here. This was all really scraps. I just used, and really the only thing that took very much was this little back piece, So, all right, so that was step number 3 of the quilting. Step number 4, we're going to lay this down first over the placement line and the batting, and then step number 4 is going to be the tack down line for our fabric. I think it's only going to go around once. And then step number 5, of course, will be the actual quilting. Okay, so here's step number 5. And the quilting. And this is going to be the little candy canes and the peppermint sticks, or the little peppermint candies. All right, so I'll be back in a moment when this is done, and we will move on to the actual design. Okay, so there's our pretty little quilting with the candy canes and the peppermint candies. And so the first step on page 12 of the ornament block is going to be the placement line for the stamp background. So this is going to be the white. So I did put white in my needle. And then I've got the shape flex on the back of the fabric here. And we're going to put that down on top of the green. Now this one does say to not trim it. It says do not trim the fabric at this time. So we'll just put it down and let it do the tack down line, and then we won't trim it this time. And then the next part is going to be the ornament. So I'm going to go ahead and put my green in for that. But we won't trim the background this time. It doesn't do the outline until the very end, so that's probably why they have you do that. So we won't trim that, but we are going to change the color to the darker green, my emerald green, for this. So get that in there. I'm sorry if my chair sounds squeaky. And I have my chair is getting kind of old, and I noticed that it's getting very squeaky, but it's very comfortable. All right, so we're going to do, this is step number 3 on page 12, and this is going to be the placement line for our ornament. And the ornament fabric also has the shape flex on the back. So we're going to get this. And then, now this one we are going to trim. Second, I've got a tail up here. Let's pull this out and get that tail out of there before we push this on. So we're going to cover that up. And then we're going to do step number 4, which is going to be the tack down for that, and then we'll trim. This one we will trim. But not the white yet. White's trimmed before the last step. Okay, so we'll trim this one, and then, oh, we're going to do the little hanger, and the little hanger must be that kind of lime green. So we're going to change the thread again. So get this trimmed. I think this is a satin stitch, though. It's hard to tell on the screen. I think it is a satin stitch, though. Get this trimmed. Boy, that's a tiny ornament. You don't think about how small these look. So big, you know, like when you're looking at them on the page, and when you look at them actually in the hoop, they're pretty small, aren't they? Okay, so there's that one. And then we're going to change our color to the lime green and do the little ornament hanger. I can just reach my thread stand over the camera. I have a little trouble sometimes reaching. I'll bring this down a little bit. I might be able to reach it a little better. There we go. Okay. All right, so it's going to do the little hanger. This is step number 5 on page 12. I don't think it's going to take very long, so we probably won't turn the camera up. And then I think it's going to do the pink, because it's going to do the little cap of the ornament. Looks like I have a little tail hanging out here. It's got like a little cap on the top of the ornament, so we'll put the pink in. And then this is also going to be the outline of the stamp background, so we'll trim after this step. This is the little ornament part. It's a little topper thing. And then we will trim. Okay, so we got our ornament topper on there. And I think there might be a couple more steps, yeah, on the other side. There's some lines and stuff in. So we're going to go ahead and trim this now. It says to trim the stamp background. So we're going to trim this now, and then it's going to do it's still going to leave I'm going to still leave the pink in, and it's going to do the pink around the outside edge here. So we'll get this trimmed. It always feels like I'm trimming down into my fabric when I do this. Just a second, I got a tail here. But it's because of the shape flex. Sometimes I have trouble. This fabric is a little heavier too, this white fabric. It's got that silvery, glittery stuff in it. So, all right. So we got that all trimmed, and then we're going to start that postage stamp outline. So that's going to stay with the pink. And then we'll be ready to turn to page 13 for the rest of this block. Okay, we got our little postage stamp edge there, and now the next step, which is going to be number 8 on top of page 13, is the satin stitches for the little ornament. So I'll do these and come back, and then we'll talk about the last 3 steps, which are going to be the detail of the ornament. So I'll probably do those and come back at the very end. So this is the satin stitches around the ornament. And I did put my green, my emerald green in. That matches my fabric. Okay, so there's our satin stitch around the ornament. And the last 3 steps, oops, sorry, I bumped the camera. The last 3 steps, 9, 10, and 11 on page 13 are going to be the little ornament details. So I'll just do all 3 of these, and then I'll come back when they're all done. So it's going to be the pink, the kind of lime green, and then the red. And that's what's going to do all these little lines, and there's a little satin stitch down the middle. So I'll do those, and I'll be right back. Okay, so there's our little ornament, all done, all the steps, and I got the little decorative lines on it. So this one's all finished, so we're ready to go on to the bell ornament. So give me a minute, I got to go get some more stabilizer, and we'll move on to the third block of this video, the bell ornament, and then we will be ready for video number 3. So give me just a moment, I'll be right back. Okay, so let's move on to the final block of this video, the bell block. So this one's also going to have the that kind of lime green background. And so I have my lime green thread. Whoop, I thought I did. Nope, I haven't put it in there yet. We have to put our lime green thread in the needle here. So we're going to start with that color so we can quilt it with that. But I had already put it in, but I did not. So let's just go ahead and thread the machine here. And then we need to get our ornament. Let's see, we have to get the quilting. So it is going to also be the Christmas 2 that I already had. Whoops, I already had it in the machine. But of course, you know, I already cleared it out thinking I was going to be changing it. So we'll just go back and get it. So we're going to go get our design. We're going to go back to that Christmas 2. Sorry, I meant to I didn't realize, I thought I was going to be doing the other one for this one, but evidently not. So Kimberbell Quilting, let's go back to, come on, there it goes. Go back to Christmas 3. Christmas 2, I'm sorry, Christmas 2. Have to be very slow. There it goes, Christmas 2. Okay. And then we're going to go block by block. And the 4x4 again. Yes, the 4x4. So here's this one. We're going to use that same one that we just did in the last one. And then we're going to add our bell block. So I'm going to hit add. And go back to find the bell block. December. Here's the bell block. So that one's going to be really cute. This one looks like it has a little bit more decorative stitching on it. So we're going to leave these centered as well. So this one says centered. Okay, so it's all centered in there. And the first thing that we're going to work on is the quilting. So let's get that. I've got the green in for the quilting. And let's talk about the fabric just a minute before we start. We've got our background fabric with the Shape Flexor SF101 on it. We've got the stamp, the background part of the stamp, also with SF101. And then I've got, this is the bell fabric, the pink, and that has SF101. And then the bow fabric does not. So there's no SF101 on the back of the bow fabric. All right, so we're going to get, whoops here, helps Jan if I hit embroidery over here. And we're going to go ahead and put in our placement line for our batting. Find a piece that'll work here. This one's a really cute block. This one has a little bit, this one takes just a little bit longer. Has a little bit more stitching in it. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get this one over the placement line and go ahead and tack it down. We're going to go around it twice. Just looking to see if there was anything else unusual. I think one of the last 3 blocks, like that will be in the next video, have some different applique pieces because they had some pieces that were in the embellishment kit. So we haven't used the embellishment kit yet. There was some felt in there and also some of that fuzzy, like minky style fabric. Okay, so we're going to trim our batting down to the stitches, hopefully. I barely made it on that side, did I? All right. Trim down, and then the third step is going to be the placement line for the fabric. Get all my little pieces over here out of the way. Oops, I did our little trick again and didn't pick up the bobbin thread, so let me just cut. We'll fix that. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go over here and I'm going to hit the negative positive needle right here. I'm going to go back up to the beginning of that design, and then what we'll do, or that step I should say, and then we're going to take the bobbin out. My bobbin is also starting to get a little empty, but I'll have enough for this one. And I'm just going to put the bobbin back in again and bring it around, but I'm not going to cut it off this time. Oops, there we go. All right, so let's give it a try and see if it'll work this time. There we go. This time it worked. All right, get our background fabric ready here. Boy, this was ravelly. That green was really ravelly. Okay, so we're going to lay this over the placement line, and then the next step will be the tack down line for the fabric. So I'm going to get it kind of centered here. Okay, I'm just going to tack this down. And then we're going to do the quilting. So step number 5 is our quilting. And this is going to have the little candy canes and stuff on it. Okay, so go ahead and get that started, and I'll be back when the quilting's done and we're ready to move on to the applique portion of the bell. Okay, so there's our beautiful quilting, and we're going to start with step number 1 then of the actual design. And this is going to start with the background of the postage stamp like background. So I put my white in my needle because it's going to be white. And we're going to do the placement line, and then we'll lay our little white piece. And again, it's got the shade flex, so there's SF101 on the back. Got a little tail over here I'm going to trim before we move on here. Okay. And then this is going to lay down here. And then step number 2 is going to be, whoops, it helps if I put the hoop in. Step number 2 is going to be our tack down, but it does say at the bottom of number 2, do not trim the fabric at this time. So we're not going to trim again and for a little bit yet. And then we're going to move on to the bell, and that's going to be in the pink. So I'm going to find my pink here. But we're not going to trim yet. I think we trim a little bit further down. So I'm going to go ahead and put the pink in and do the bell part, because I can't remember if the bell was the decorative stitch or if it was the bow. So I don't want to get caught having the wrong color in, so I'm just going to put the pink in. All right, so now we're going to have our placement line for the bell part. I've got my little piece of pink in here. And this is step number 3 on page 14. we are going to trim this one. So we're going to lay this down, and then we're going to tack it down and trim it. Get that on there. That does have some shape flex on it as well. And we're going to trim this one. And then we're going to move on to the, oh, there was going to be satin stitches on the bell, so I could have left the white thread in and it would have been okay. I thought that one was one of the decoratives, but it must be the bow that was decorative. I knew at least one of them was decorative on this one. Okay, so we're going to trim this. And then I think we're switching over to red because it's going to do the inside detail of the bell, which I believe is in red. Yes, that's step 5. Get this trimmed off here. Whoops, didn't do very well there, did I? There we go. Okay. Switch over to red. I'm going to put my red thread. This one was nice because I didn't have to keep track of too many threads. I just got done doing a big like multi-hooped quilt, and oh my gosh, there were so many threads in it. It's kind of nice to only have one that has 5 or 6 colors instead of having like 20 or 30 or 40 colors to keep track of. So I had my whole table was full of threads here. All right, so this is going to be the inner bell fill, and then we're going to go back to the bell satin outline. Okay, so I've gone back to my pink thread, and now it's going to do the satin stitches over the edge of the bell fabric. And then I think we'll be trimming after that. So then we trim the white so that it can do the postage stamp edge. Okay, so now we need to trim around the white here. And then I'm going to leave the pink in because step number 7 on page 14 is also the pink, and it's going to do that postage stamp outline then around this white. So we're going to trim this off, and I think the top part of the bell has a bow, a big bow on it. So that one, that'll be the next part. So it's going to do the outline first. All right, so we'll trim that off, and then we'll leave the pink in and do the postage stamp edge and come back, and I think, let's see, that'll be on the top of page 15. We're going to move on to the bow section then. All right, so off it goes to do the postage stamp edge. Okay, so we've got the little postage stamp edge on there, and now we're ready to start the bow for the bell. And we need to put in the lime green because it's going to be the same color as my fabric here. And this is going to be a decorative motif stitch, so we definitely want matching thread. So I'm going to do step number 8 on the top of page 15, and that is the bow placement line. And then we're going to lay our fabric down and tack it down with the same color. Oops, looks like I have a tail here again. I always get a tail. It's nice to keep those from being stuck in something. So then we're going to lay this down. So here's our little bow fabric. And then we're going to do step number 9 and tack that down. And then we're going to trim. That one's going to, we're going to trim. Now that one does not have shape flex on it. The shape flex is a little hard to trim if you're using a decorative stitch because the decorative stitch doesn't cover as well, and that shape flex is sometimes a little bit like ravelly. So I noticed they didn't put any shape flex on this. So all right, so let's go ahead and trim this one then. This one's kind of an intricate little guy, isn't it? So we'll trim this close to the stitches. I love these Ginger scissors. These get you into those little crevices there. So get it trimmed. Sorry, hopefully Gigi's not bothering you. She's out in the kitchen. She thinks it's time for second supper. This is evening. This is a Saturday evening, and I haven't fed her second supper yet. She usually gets second supper around 10 o'clock. So she's out there telling me it's almost time. She's gotten to be such a nuisance when I work in my sewing room. She likes to sit like right on top of me, so I usually have to shut the door now because she's like crawling all over me and all over the pet fabric and everything else. So, all right, so there's our little bow, and now we're going to put this back in, and this is step number, let me see, I can't see. We're going to do the decorative outline, so this is step number 10, and I'm leaving that lime green thread in there, and then we're going to switch over to the dark green, and then we'll go back to the lime green. Okay, so I've switched over to my emerald green, and we're going to do just like a little decorative thing on the bottom of the bow here, and then we're going to go back over to our lime green to finish off the bow. And then there's 2 steps at the end that are in the lime green, 12 and 13. I'm just going to go ahead and do both of those just because it just finishes up. Oh, there is actually one more. 12, 13 are the lime green, and then 14 is the red. So I'll do those last 3 steps before I come back. So this is just doing like the underneath part of the bow. I forgot there was a little red that's going to be on the bell down here towards the bottom. So see this stitch out. All right. And then we're going to switch back to our lime green. And then I'll do the last 3 steps. So 12 and 13 are the lime green, and 14 is the red. So it does a little decorative line on the bottom of the bell with the red. All right, so we'll get this started, and then I will finish it up before I come back, and then we will be ready for the trimming already. So these have been really fun. I like these blocks. The last 3 have a little bit more stuff in them, but not a lot. I mean, it's mostly applique, so. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get those started, and then I will be back in a moment when I have finished the last 3 steps, 2 of the lime green and 1 with the red. Okay, so there's our little bell block, all done. That turned out really cute. Oh, there's another little tail here that I'll have to get rid of. But oh my gosh, that's really cute. I like the colors. I like pink and red together. That's really cool. So there we go. So there's our little block. So if you give me a moment, I will switch the camera over and we will trim these 3 blocks, and we'll be done with part 2 of the Kimberbell Mini Quilt for December. Okay, so give me a couple minutes and I will move the camera over. All right, so we're going to trim these 3 little blocks up the same size we did the other one. So they were 4.5 by 4.5. So I'm going to find my orange pop rulers here. I like to use the bigger one to help me hold it. So I've got the 6.5 and the 4.5 here. So let's do the little gift first. So I'm going to lay this down, and then of course we have our little basing line around here to help us get it centered. So I'm just going to get that kind of centered in my ruler here. And then I'm going to lay the 6.5-inch one over the edge so I have a little something more to hang on to. I'm going to tip it towards me, and then I'm going to take my rotary cutter, push in just a little ways, pull back into the corner, and push forward. I'm kind of getting the hang of these now. It took me a little while. You know, you just have to kind of take your time with them and don't, try not to move things. It just takes me it's taken me a little while to get used to them, but I am doing much better now. All right. Let's see. I think I got a little spot there. There we go. All right. So there's our little gift block. That turned out really cute. So we're going to do the ornament block here, and we'll do the same thing. These are easy. They're all the same size. All right. So we're going to get, oops, a second here. Get that out of the way. Line up the outlines here. Put my 6.5-inch ruler around the outside edge, and then trim this one. This roundabout really helps. These are up on the website, so I've got them. I'll have them linked in the video description. All the stuff that you've seen me use is in the video description, so you should be able to get anything you want on the Shield Sewing Center website. All right. So there is my ornament block. Isn't that cute? And then let's get our bell. We'll get the bell here. This one on here. Do the same thing. Line up my little basting lines there. Get this one on. And trim this one. Also helps to have a very sharp rotary blade. Mine's starting to get a little dull, so I'm having a little trouble with a couple spots, but I'll change it before I make any more videos. It's just starting to get dull. So. All right. There we go. So there's our little bell. So we've got 3 more blocks done in part 2 of the Kimberbell December mini quilt. So thank you so much for joining me for this part of the Kimberbell mini quilt. I will see you in the next video, part 3, and we'll do 3 more blocks, the last 3 blocks, and then in part 4 we'll put it together. So thank you so much for joining me. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up because it really helps me on YouTube. And please come subscribe to my channel, Sew Along with Jan. It's completely free, and that way you'll be able to see when I have new videos up and stuff. So Sew Along with Jan on YouTube. We also have a Facebook group called Sew Along with Jan, so then you can come and join us there, and we put pictures up of our projects and talk about different things we're working on. So that's really fun too if you like to do Facebook. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in part 3 of the December Kimberbell mini quilt. Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.